Since Cronos the New Dawn has just gotten new details as well as a brand new trailer, today in this video I will be going through everything that you should know about Bloober's upcoming horror game. The running message on the website itself is survive the nightmare of the future to save what remains of the past. It also is set to release this year on Xbox Series X, PlayStation 5, and PC, although the exact date of its release is still unknown. When they started working on Cronos, their second team was already committed to doing the Silent Hill 2 remake, so from the beginning, they didn't want to overlap them. So, instead, they said, okay, let's make it more gameplay heavy, like limited inventory, a lot of decisions, more tools, and more weapons, implying that this will be much more combat efficient with its tools over something like Silent Hill 2. There's also one difficulty mode for the game, and it is said to be a hard mode, but in an old school kind of way. When you complete the game though, there will be an even harder mode unlocked for you to play. This game has also been in development for 4 years, which is actually longer than Silent Hill 2's development. The game takes you into the role of the Traveler, who is described as an agent of a mysterious collective emerging from a dystopian future to dive back into time and extract key people before they perish into the apocalypse. The game sets you into a strange future, and there's no exact year as to when it actually takes place, but what's important is that the world ends in the 1980s, as well as being set in Poland. This means it will be set in the same time period as the 1980s, reflecting how Poland looked during that era. The reason for this is that in the early 80s, the country of Poland was under martial law, and the same will be true for the alternate history of Cronos, although it will not be for the same reason. In Cronos, martial law is enacted because there's a disease this time, and the government is saying that everything was alright. Just be at home, it's cool, and it's all going to be okay. But when the Traveler goes back in time before the pandemic becomes widespread a couple days beforehand, they learn more about what happened and why. So everything that you will see in-game will be how Poland looked back then without ever getting the chance to see what it would look like in the 1990s. It's an alternative history, similar to how the recent Wolfenstein games explore a reimagined world beyond the 1940s. There's time hopping that happens across at least 2 distinct time periods. There's the present time period racked by a horrific mutating pandemic which has transformed many humans into monstrous beings, and then there's the before times when the pandemic was just starting up and people didn't really understand how bad it was going to get. It allows them to use unique Polish aesthetics, use brutalistic architectures, and mix it with cassette futurism sci-fi you may know from something like Alien or Star Wars. The co-directors of this game also mention that there's an analog-style sci-fi bent to the game, being also very Polish, in which is said to be both intentional and essential to the game overall. All of the in-game writing will be Polish, and you'll be able to hover over them in translated subtitles. In the demo, there were some store signs shown, and it was noted that the design decision bumps up the weirdness and the aliens for the other players that don't know or speak Polish. As for the name, The New Dawn, it is a subtitle for the game, but also the name of the district where the game is happening. It will be based on a real district in Krakow, which in the real world is called Nowa Huta, which means New Steelworks. They recreated this and changed a little bit here and there, but if you came to Poland, to Krakow, you might realize a lot of places from the game there. It's a full-fledged survival horror game with limited inventory and all you can imagine, but they did something special to spice up the combat. In short, your enemies can merge together to create even more horrifying monsters. Even if you've downed an enemy, if they're not fully neutralized, for example, burning them, they can be absorbed by another to evolve into a singular being that's bigger and badder with additional abilities. They also demonstrate this by merging and circling what seems to be an abandoned park, waking up all of the orphans, which is Cronos' name for its abominations in the area. As he does, there's a brief alien-looking animation where one orphan gets close enough and swallows another, and then another, and then another, until the hulking monstrosity in front of us barely resembles what was, in hindsight, its meeker forebear. The basic enemies will be called the doppelgangers, and they're made from 2, 3, 4, or 5 people altogether, but in their belief they are still one person, so they will still look more human. You can also fight the monsters that know they're not a person, so they'll look very different from the basic monsters. They're building everything around this merge mechanic. The weapons are prepared for crowd control. You can fire your pistol into enemies like normal, for example, or you can line them up and charge it up to fire piercing shots. Similarly, a charged shotgun shot increases its spread, letting you take on enemies over a wider area. This also recreates a feeling of an old school survival horror game as you're glued to the ground while aiming. Here you can move but really slowly, as a good risk and reward type of thing. Cronos draws heavy inspiration from the Netflix series Dark, which explores the eerie, unsettling aspects of time travel while weaving in an apocalyptic threat layered with damning ramifications and philosophical complexity. This show was also an inspiration for one of their other games, being The Medium, but for this one in particular, Dark was one of the backbones. Other inspirations for this game was The 12 Monkeys, Annihilation, John Carpenter's The Thing, and a manga named The Blame, with the character Killy's gun specifically being directly inspired for the game's discharge weapons. As for the video games, they mentioned that not only are the newer Resident Evil titles are used as an inspiration, but pretty much mostly all of the Resident Evil games serve as some inspiration to a great extent. Dead Space, Returnal, and The Last of Us are also games that helped inspire the creation of this game, which is honestly no surprise here. Another franchise that serves as inspiration for Cronos was the Dark Souls games, which helps some think of putting traps in a level to change the pace. It isn't just the traps and level design though, as From Software's approach to storytelling and overall design philosophy are also alive and well in Cronos: The New Dawn. Something that might as well have been inspired by Dark Souls is also the fact that the game has only one difficulty mode, as mentioned before, much similar to how the Souls games also only have one, and never an easy difficulty included. As of right now, those are all the details that have come up from the newest coming game. Based on what we've seen so far in the game, it looks great. I'm excited to see what Bloober Team fully commits to with this unique looking sci-fi experience, because honestly, if it's space related, I'm already all on board. With that being said though, how do you feel about all of this? Are you intrigued or interested in checking this game out? Comment down below, as I'd love to hear your thoughts. Also, please like and subscribe for more videos on horror game topics. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.